Rumi was a 13th century Persian poet and Sufi mystic. Sufism is a philosophy that focuses on the heart, not just the mind. It's about connecting with life and the divine through love, awareness and presence. He wrote books like the Masnavi and the Diwani Shams Tabrizi, full of stories and poems about love, connection and the human soul. For Rumi, love starts inside us. Most of the time we struggle to love not because love isn't there, but because we've built walls inside of ourselves. Fear, pride, control and expectations block love from flowing naturally. So the first step is to notice these walls and let them go. When we remove these barriers, love can move freely. Once the walls come down, love opens up in every part of life. It's not just about romantic relationships or special moments. Love becomes the way we connect with people, with the world, and with something bigger than ourselves. When we stop clinging, judging, or trying to control, every moment becomes a chance to love. A kind word, a look, a gesture, or even the challenges we face. Love isn't something we have to chase. It's already there, ready to be felt and lived. Today, we often treat love like a transaction. We expect it to make us feel safe, complete, or validated. But real love doesn't trap or limit us. True love frees us and allows those around us to grow too. And so in this video, we're going to explore how to love through the philosophy of Rumi. Number 1. Begin by dying before you die. Rumi says, "Die before you die and be completely dead. Then do whatever you want. It's all good." In Sufism, what we call the ego is known as nafs, the lower self that clings. It's the part of us that's always saying, I, me, mine. It wants to control, to be right, to be seen. It's restless, always comparing, always needing something more. The Sufis call this the lower self because it keeps us trapped in survival, chasing comfort, approval, or recognition. But beyond this lower self, there's a higher one, the soul or the heart, what the Sufis call ruh or qalb. This higher self isn't separate from the divine. In Sufism, the divine is seen as the sacred pulse of the universe, a living presence that exists in everything, the source of life, love, and wisdom. And when we connect to this higher self, we begin to feel that divine presence within us, that part of us that's aware, kind, and capable of real love. The Sufi path, the path that Rumi walked, is the transformation of the lower self into the higher one. It's not about destroying who you are, but refining who you are. The ego blocks love because it separates. It says, I'm this identity, I'm right, I'm different, I deserve more. It builds walls where love wants to build bridges. As long as we live trapped in the small self, we can't experience the vastness of love that's trying to reach us. Rumi learned this through the most powerful friendship of his life, his meeting with Shams of Tabriz, a wandering mystic who changed him forever. Before meeting Shams, Rumi was a scholar, respected, disciplined and proud. Then when Shams appeared, everything Rumi knew was set on fire. He shattered Rumi's image of himself. He questioned everything Rumi thought he knew, burned away his pride, and exposed the small self hiding behind words and learning. Through Shams, he saw how his ego stood between him and the divine, that breaking burned away his pride and revealed his heart. Rumi called this burning fana, the death of the ego, followed by baka, living again through love, through the divine. Rumi, once a man of reason, began to speak in poetry and silence. He no longer preached about God. He felt God in everything. And we can also practice letting go of our ego in our daily lives, especially in our relationships. When we argue, when we feel jealous, when we need to be right, that's the lower self reacting. It's trying to protect its image, to stay in control. But love asks for something softer. It asks us to pause, to breathe, to ask, what part of me is trying to protect itself right now? When we speak from that awareness, something shifts. The ego wants to win, but love wants to understand. The ego wants attention, but love wants to give. The ego says, I'll love you if, but love says, I love you even through this. Small practices help us return to that higher self. Take a deep breath before you speak in anger. When you hurt someone, apologize without defending yourself. Do something kind without expecting credit. Sit in silence with someone you care about. Or read a few lines of Rumi together. Number 2. Lose yourself in the dance. Rumi writes, dance when you're broken open. Dance if you've torn the bandage off. For Rumi, love was never meant to be dissected, solved, or perfectly understood. It was meant to be lived, raw, messy, and alive. He often compared it to a dance. A true dance doesn't begin after you've figured out every step. It begins the moment you stop trying to control it, when you let life's music move through you. In Sufi practice, this idea isn't just poetic, it's lived. The whirling dervishes, Rumi's followers, spun for hours with their eyes closed and arms open, letting the divine carry them. Their turning wasn't a performance, it was a prayer in motion. In that dance, the ego loses its grip. The boundaries of me and you dissolve. The dancer is no longer dancing. The dance is dancing them. Rumi believed that love reveals itself not through endless thinking, but through presence, through the courage to step forward without knowing where it will lead. The ego demands guarantees. Will this last? Will I be safe? Will it hurt? But love doesn't speak that language. Love speaks in rhythm, not in certainty. It moves through gestures, through shared silence, through the way your heart beats a little faster when you allow yourself to be fully here. And this is where many of us get stuck. We wait for clarity before we move. We want to know the outcome before taking the step. But love doesn't grow in control. It grows in surrender. This isn't about recklessness or ignoring red flags. Sufis say, tie your camel, then trust in God. In love, this means grounding yourself in awareness while allowing space for what wants to unfold. You don't need to analyze every silence or decode every gesture or message. Instead, speak honestly. Listen deeply. Meet someone's gaze without performing. Dance with life as it moves, not as you think it should move. If you love someone, express it without waiting for the perfect moment. If you're unsure, give yourself permission to experience the connection without writing the whole story in advance. Take walks, share laughter, let your guard down in small ways. Love will either carry you where you need to go or teach you what you need to learn. When you lose yourself in the dance, you stop fighting life and begin flowing with it. Number 3. Seek union, not possession. Rumi once said, lovers don't finally meet somewhere, they're in each other all along. For him, love was never about owning someone or making them yours. It wasn't about control or possession. Real love is a quiet recognition, a connection that already lives between two people. It isn't something you win or earn. It grows naturally when both can simply be themselves, without trying to shape or fix the other. But somewhere along the way, many of us turned love into a transaction. We started giving it with conditions, keeping score, and measuring its worth by what we get in return. Sometimes it kind of sounds like you're saying, "I'll love you if you make me feel special," or "I'll give you my time if you give me security," or "I'll be close to you only when my needs are met," or even "I'll stay because of how this makes me look to the world." When love turns into a transaction, it stops being about connection. We're no longer in love with the person themselves, we're attracted to what they give us. That's where fear enters. Fear of losing them, fear of not being enough, fear of not getting what we want. We cling to the rewards, not the person. And then the relationship starts to feel tight, heavy, full of unspoken expectations. We try to control, we demand, we monitor, and slowly love becomes a cage. But real love was never meant to be a cage. Love is supposed to make you feel free, not restricted. This is what Rumi points to when he speaks of union. Not ownership or control, but a kind of shared space where love flows between two individuals who still stand as themselves. Real love doesn't erase you, it lets you breathe. It allows both people to grow side by side without needing to shrink for the other. To love this way is quiet work. It means letting go of the urge to control how someone loves you, finding your worth within yourself so you're not begging love to prove it, giving without keeping score because real love isn't a bargain, remembering that no one can complete you. Love is a reflection of the fullness you already carry, and helping each other grow instead of holding each other back. When you practice love this way, the fear of losing someone no longer rules your mind. You stop clinging, stop demanding, and start truly connecting. Love stops being something to possess and control. It becomes something that sets both people free. Rumi's words aren't just poetic lines, they're a practical guide. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere, they're in each other all along. The love you're searching for is actually something to awaken within yourself and in your connection with others. And real love, the kind that lasts, doesn't make you feel small. It doesn't trap or limit. It gives you space to breathe, to grow, to be fully yourself, and to feel free alongside another person. Number 4. Let pain be your teacher. In the words of Rumi, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Pain is one of life's most honest teachers. It strips away the stories we tell ourselves, the masks we hide behind, and the illusions we build for safety. When we face heartbreak, betrayal, or loss, something inside us cracks, and through that crack, something true begins to emerge. Pain reveals what we've been avoiding, our fears, our attachments, the fragile structures we've built around our sense of self. When everything we've leaned on starts to crumble, what remains is raw, unfiltered, and real. Most of us try to escape pain. We distract ourselves, keep busy, pretend we're fine. But avoiding it doesn't free us. It keeps us stuck. Pain has a way of pulling us back to what's real. It whispers, "This is where you're still holding on. This is where you're still afraid." But when we allow ourselves to feel it fully without rushing to fix it or numb it, its lessons begin to unfold. Heartbreak exposes where we seek completion outside of ourselves. Rejection shows us the insecurities beneath our confidence. Grief reminds us of the depth of our love. Pain doesn't come to destroy us. It comes to wake us up. True healing begins when we stay with the pain gently. Sometimes that means sitting in silence with the ache, writing honestly, or sharing with someone who truly understands. Over time, our relationship with discomfort changes. Instead of running, we begin to meet it with awareness. Pain's lessons are meant to be lived, not just understood. When his beloved friend and teacher Shams Tabrizi vanished, Rumi was shattered. It wasn't just the loss of a friend. It was losing the mirror through which he saw divine love. Shams had awakened something sacred in him. When he disappeared, Rumi was forced inward. What had once been directed outward turned into a fire within. And out of that grief, the scholar became a mystic. The thinker became a poet. His pain didn't end him. It transformed him. What Rumi discovered was that the love he mourned had never truly left. It wasn't bound to a single person. It was the divine flowing through that person. Shams was a doorway, not the source. So when the doorway closed, Rumi realized the source lived within him all along. That understanding became the heartbeat of his poetry. What is real, love, truth, presence, can never be taken away. When we glimpse this truth ourselves, we begin to see what's real doesn't die with change or loss. It simply shifts its form. And with that realization, letting go becomes less like force and more like quiet trust. Pain, in its own way, frees us. It loosens our grip, humbles us, and makes us more compassionate. Not just towards ourselves, but towards everyone who carries their own silent wounds. Pain can be a teacher if we change the question from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What is this showing me?" Rejection, for instance, can be unbearable at first. We question our worth, blame ourselves, ache for what's gone. But if we stay with that feeling, slowly we begin to see the truth beneath it. The part of us that was seeking love or validation outside. We realize the love we were chasing was never out there. It's always been waiting within. Pain and love are not opposites. The heart doesn't break to close. It breaks to open wider. Each wound lets in more light, more truth, more understanding. As Rumi said, the wound is the place where the light enters you. A part of healing is learning to forgive, both others and ourselves. Many of us carry hidden resentment toward our own mistakes. We replay moments of failure, judge ourselves harshly, and let shame harden inside us. Rumi reminds us that true self-love begins with forgiveness. If we can't forgive ourselves, our hearts stay locked. Forgiveness isn't about denying what happened. It begins with honesty, seeing ourselves clearly. That means acknowledging the times we've fallen short, not to punish ourselves, but to grow from it. Rumi said, "Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop." We cannot heal if we keep clutching on to what we should release. Reflect on where you've hurt yourself or others. Listen to what those moments are trying to teach you. As Rumi wrote, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. In that space, self-judgment softens and growth begins. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's strength. It tells your heart, I am still worthy of love, even here. When we forgive ourselves and others, we free ourselves from shame, resentment, and the weight of old stories. Love can flow again. Pain cracks us open. Forgiveness clears the space inside. and through those cracks and clearings, healing happens. Number 6. See the divine in everything. In our final quote from Rumi for this video, he says, "Wherever you are, and whatever you do, be in love." For Rumi, love was never confined to the bond between two people. It wasn't something that existed only in romance or in moments that felt extraordinary. Love was a way of seeing, a way of walking through the world with eyes wide open. When Rumi spoke of the divine, he didn't mean some distant deity locked away in heaven. As mentioned earlier, the divine is the sacred pulse that lives through everything, the spark of aliveness that makes the world breathe. Every tree, every stranger, every breeze that brushes your skin carries this quiet presence. To him, nothing was separate from love. Everything was love speaking its own secret language. Rumi's own life changed the moment he began to see the world this way. After Shams disappeared, Rumi's love didn't vanish with him. Instead, it widened. He realized that what he had loved in Shams wasn't a single man, but something far greater, the divine essence shining through him. He began to find that same light in the world around him, in the rustle of leaves, the laughter of children, the silence of night. He'd wander through the streets of Konya where he lived, and where others saw only ordinary scenes, a bird soaring above, a potter at his wheel, a beggar on the corner. Rumi saw signs of the beloved. This is why his poetry speaks not in commands, but in wonder. He wanted us to remember that the world itself is sacred, not something to conquer or control, but something to fall in love with again and again. When we stop waiting for love to arrive through a single person, one perfect relationship or a rare moment of magic, we begin to see how much love is already here. It's in a cup of tea on a quiet morning, in sunlight filtering softly through a window, in the stranger who smiles without reason. To see the divine in everything is to look at the world as if it's whispering to you, not with words, but with presence. When you see life this way, even the smallest things become sacred. Love is not something to chase, it's something to see. It's already here, in everything, waiting for you to notice. If you like what we do on this page, consider becoming a channel member. It costs less than a cup of coffee and gives you access to philosophy-themed emojis, badges, members-only polls, and members-only videos. To support us, click on the link in the description, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out our full Philosophies for Life playlist, and for more videos to help you find success and happiness using beautiful philosophical wisdom, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.